All right. In yesterday's class, we discussed about how we will create the database, how we will activate the database, and we are discussing about creating the databases. And I stopped about we need to continue today about the data types concept, right? So, first of all, as you can see here, whenever, as I said yesterday, whenever we start working on the databases, first we need to activate the database, right? Here, yesterday we used DURGASOFT 5 database. For now, if you can see, I am my Maven movies database is in activation. So once again, we need to execute this one DURGASOFT 5. We need to activate this database again. So I'm executing once again, use DurgaSoft 5. Okay, now this particular database is got activated. Now we need to create the tables in that. We are seeing yesterday, we are understanding how we will create the tables, right? As I shown in one Excel file, I shown you 1 second. So yesterday, like something like this, I shown you, right? This employees will be our table name. Employee ID will be my column name. Employee name. Okay. Next, maybe salary. And next, date of joining, right? And I entered some random data in it, correct? And now we need to see how we will create the table, how we will enter that data by using SQL, correct? I will write maybe some dates here. Okay, directly I will do that in SQL. So this is our table name. This will be our column name. That is employee ID, employee name, salary, and date of joining will be our column names, and this will be the data inside the tables. Right? That is what we saw yesterday, and we started creating the tables. To create the tables, I said we will use the syntax of, we will use a create command. The create is basically a command. We will call this as a command. So we will use the syntax like this. Create table name. Inside the table name, we will use the column names. Okay. That is, I want to create 4 columns: employee ID, employee name, salary, date of joining. Correct? These are all the 4 columns I want. But here, whenever we are creating the database, for every column, we should define a data type. Okay, that means yesterday, whenever I'm discussing about the limitations of Excel, I said that in Excel file, if I can enter any wrong data also, it is allowing me. If in salary column, if I'm writing some hi, hello, something like that, it is allowing me. But it is, it should not be like that. Whenever we are dealing with big data, we are in need of one such system where if we are entering any incorrect data, that should basically throw us an error. I mean that our system, I said one point yesterday that our system should such robust that if we are entering any incorrect data, it should stop us in doing so, and it should throw errors stating that you are entering some wrong data. Correct? That problem is there in Excel, and I said we will overcome that problem by using databases or SQL, right? So we will overcome that problem by using a concept called as data types. Okay, we need to define data types for each and every column. Okay, for each and every column, we need to define a data type here. Okay, this data types only will, stop us to enter any irrelevant data in the column. Now let's see about the data types. Okay. So I hope you can see my screen. These are all the different SQL data types available. Okay. First of all, let me write what is data type means. One second. Correct. Uh, Sorry for that. So I'm discussing that. Now, first, let's see what is data type. And after understanding what is data type, I will show you what are all the types of data types we have. Okay. Data type is nothing but, basically data type in the sense it defines whatever data type we use. Okay. That data type only defines like, what type of value we need to store, what type of value we need to store in that column. Basically, inside the tables, we will have columns, right? For each and every column, we will define a data type. By using data type only, we will understand that data type only will decide that what type of value we can store in that column. Okay, that is what I said, right? That is what the limitation we saw yesterday. In Excel, in salary will be my column, but I can enter any type of data. But that is wrong. We should enter the relevant data only inside it. Salary in the sense definitely we need to enter numbers only. So for that purpose, we will use database data types. The data types will decide or will helps us to understand what type of value we need to store in that column. If we according to our defined data, we have some different data types available in SQL. After defining that particular data type, if we use any other data, if we try to enter any other data in that column, it will throw us an error. Okay, I hope I'm clear. Now let's see what are all the data types we have. Let's see. Okay, so this is the SQL data types. We have these many data types. First one, we have numeric data types, character or string data type, date and time data type, Boolean data type, and binary and miscellaneous. Okay. Basically, mostly we will use first three data types only. Mostly we will use this data types only. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, let's forget about it. Let's see this three data. Mostly in real time we will use this three data types only. That is numeric data types, character or string data type, and data and time data type. These are all the different types of data types we have in SQL. Okay, first one is numeric data type. In numeric data type, we have two different types of data types. Okay, that is int and float. As I said, we have many types of data types, and the first one is numeric data type. In the numeric data type, again, inside the numeric data type, we have two more data types, that is int and float. Okay. Likewise, we have character or string data type. Okay. Inside the character or string data type, we have char and varchar. Okay. Next, we have date and time data type. Inside that data type, we have, this date and date time data type. Okay. We have two data types. As you can see here, int float. What is the difference between int and float in the sense? Basically, in numerical data types, we will store only the numbers. Okay. And inside the numerical data types, we have two more data types, that is int and float. Inside the int, we can store all the numbers, normal numbers. But whereas inside the float, we can store decimal numbers. Okay. Inside, if we want to store any decimal numbers in any of the column, we will use float data type. Okay, we will mention the data type as float. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So next we have character or string data type. In that, inside that character or string data type, we have two data types, that is char and varchar. Okay, what is char, what is varchar, I will discuss in a while. Okay, what is the difference between them, what is fixed length, what is variable length, I will explain in a while. Okay, next we have date and time data type. In that also we have two types of data types, that is one is date data type and the second one is date time data type. Okay, in the date data type we will use only the dates and the format we need to use is like this only. Like first we need to use year, then month, then date. Okay, that is YYYY, MM and DD. Okay, next we have date time data type. In that we need to use the format like this. We date and time in the sense whenever we are want to store date along with the time, then we will define date time data type. And the format is this one: year, month, date, hour, minute, second. Okay, we need to definitely follow this format only. In Boolean, we have true and false, two types of values. Whenever we are using only true and false, we will use Boolean. And we have some binary and miscellaneous. We can ignore this. Only the first three types we will use more frequently. Okay. So now let's see. As I said, this we have this many data types, right? Now, by using these data types, let's first try to create this table. And after that, I will explain you the difference between char and varchar. Okay. So now we understood that. See, this is basically for writing multi-line comments, we will use like this. Okay. For single line comments, I can use like this, double quotes or hash. But for writing multiple lines inside the comments, we will use like this. This is the opening and this is the closing. Okay. Something like same as in other programming languages also, we will use the same. Okay. So now let's try to create the employees table. I'm just copying this everything. Okay. This is my table, create table, employees name. Create table, table name. Employees is our table name, right? Inside the table name, I have employee ID, employee name, salary, and date of joining. I have four columns basically, right? Now for these four columns, whenever we are creating the table, we need to give the table name. Then we need to use create table, table name. Then we need to, we need to give the column names inside the parentheses. That is, we need to open the bracket. We need to write the column names. And if after writing each and every column name, we need to define a data type. Here, employee ID is my column. Obviously, for employee ID, what kind of values we will use? Numerical values only, right? Either we can use int or float. It's our wish. So for now, I am defining int here. Basically, how to define data type in the sense, just simply whenever we are creating the database, whenever we are creating the tables itself, after writing the column name, we need to write the data type name. Okay. If I write int in employee ID, I can able to store only numbers. If I write float in employee ID, I can able to store only numbers and decimals. Okay. It will allow, like if I enter 21 also, it will allow. If I write float, if I enter 21.5 also, it will allow. Okay. So for now, but basically if in employee IDs, we don't have decimals, right? That's the reason I'm using int only here. Next, next column is employee name. For employee names in the sense we know all the names will be the characters only, correct? So we can use either char or varchar. Okay, for now I'm using char. Okay, I will tell the difference between them going forward. But for now, I'm using char. And one more important point here we need to understand. Whenever we are using character data, we need to define the size. We need to define the size. Whenever we are using character data type, we need to define the size. We need to define the size also. That is, here I can say char of 10. Okay, this is how I will define the size. I'm saying that this means what is the meaning of this in the sense? For storing employee name, I'm using the data type called char and I'm using some size here. This size indicates that much memory we are reserving to for employee name column. Basically, in real time, what happens whenever we are using character data, we need to mention the size. That particular size we defined, that size, according to that size only, that much of memory will be reserved for employee name. I'm saying here I'm defining the size as 10. So only 10 bytes of memory will be reserved for employee name. That is, I can enter the employee names up to 10 characters only. I cannot enter more than 10 characters. Okay, so suppose if any employee name is there, I need to enter below 10 letters only, not above 10 letters. So like that, we need to define the size. Whatever size we define, that much characters only we can enter in that column. Okay, I hope I'm clear about this size. Whenever we are discussing about char and varchar difference, at that time we will
Yes.
see practically. Okay, we will see practically about how we are allocating the memory and all. But for now, I hope this is understand for you.
Okay. Understand.
And Ramu, I forgot. Are you? Do you have some basic knowledge on SQL, or is this the first time you are learning
Oh,
SQL?
first time. First time. First time.
Okay,
First time.
okay, fine. And we have another student, Sachin. Hi. Is this your first class, or did you attend yesterday's class?
No, I missed the second class.
Okay, so
On
yesterday,
first day I was there. I was
okay,
present on first class.
yesterday you didn't attend. Okay,
Yesterday I didn't attend.
okay, fine. No problem. I'll just quickly repeat how we created database also. But for now, I'm explaining how we are creating the table. Rami,
Yes,
if you
ma'am.
don't, okay, Rami, if you don't mind, just give me 2 minutes. I'll quickly explain him
Mm,
about
mm.
creating database.
Okay. Okay. No problem.
Yeah. Okay, Sachin. So yesterday, as you said, you attended the first class. And yesterday, basically, I explained about some limitations of Excel. Okay, and you can, our admin team will forward you yesterday's video. Please watch that video. You can understand. Okay, that because I'm not repeating about the limitations of Excel for now. Going forward, if you need, I can repeat. But that is just for understanding purpose. Okay. Uh, if you can get time, just watch that video. Maybe in first 5 to 10 minutes, I finished explaining limitations of Excel. That is just for understanding purpose. After that, I showed yesterday the user interface of MySQL. Okay, so that is important. So now I'm covering that part here. Okay, so basically this is MySQL. Once you get registered with us, I will show you the installation process of MySQL. Okay, once you got installed, once you open MySQL, you can able to see like this. Okay, here if you can see, you have something called as schemas here. Below the schemas, you can see the list of databases available inside our laptop. By default, whenever you will install, you will see only sys database, that is system generated database. These all databases which I have created. That's the reason I can able to see all the list of the databases here. Okay, so towards the left side at the top, you can find the list of databases available. Okay, and this is the file where we will write all the SQL queries. To open that file, basically I already have some files. I'm not closing them for now, but if I close everything, it will be blank here. But to open that file, what we need to do, we have first icon here. This is a toolbar. This two lines is called as a toolbar only. This file, edit, query, and this one is also called as a toolbar. So to open a new file, either we can click on File, New Query tab. If I click also, one new SQL query tab will be open, that is new file will be open, or else at the bottom, I have some first symbol, okay? That is a shortcut of opening a new SQL file. If I click this also, one file will be open, okay? Okay, Sachin, I explained this everything yesterday, but for now I'm repeating it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this is the way. If I'm clicking this, we can open that new file, okay? So after that, we have some options here. Okay. The first option is that, after writing any of the SQL syntaxes, if we want to save, we will click the second file. Something like in every Excel files and PDF files, we can see this save button, right? In the same way, after writing anything in this file, if we want to save the file, we will click the second option. Okay, and we can save this file in our laptops. Again, if we want to open any already saved file, we will use this first option. Okay, the first symbol, we have some folder symbol. If I click on this, it will allow me to open any already saved files from my laptop. Okay, and the third option is, some reason this is not working today. So, and the third option is execute button. After writing any of the SQL statements, basically we need to select that and we need to execute. Okay, the third option is the execute button. Okay, and we have some more options going forward. We will learn, we will understand what are all the options. Okay, so this is about the user interface. Now, first we need to create any database. Okay, this is what I explained yesterday. Normally, I said we all know SQL in the sense structured query language. Okay, we will use some comments inside the SQL. That means whatever comments we will use, comments in the sense, if you can see here, I wrote double hash like this. I wrote something like this, and I used this and I wrote something here. Whatever I write inside this will be considered as comments, and that is not executable here. That means when here I will write notes here, whatever I want to explain, whatever theory part I'm writing, I will write them inside the codes. That means this is not executable thing. This is just the notes for understanding purpose I wrote. In the same way, in real time also, we will write, if we want to write any comments, we will use this one. Okay, so we have that is called as basically comments. So either we can use for single line comments, either we can use this symbol or we can use hash symbol. If I use hash and if I write anything also, it is not executable thing. That is, it is considered as comments only. Okay, and if we want to write multi-line comments, we will use like this: hash star, and we can write anything here like multiple lines. If I want to save multiple lines inside the comments, I will use like this. Okay, hash star hash. In all the programming languages like C, C++, Java also, we will use the same thing, correct? Sachin, do you have any basic idea about SQL or?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then that is very simple for me. So I hope you already know what is comments. So here in MySQL, to write the single line comments, we will use these two symbols as comments, and for multiple line comments we will use that one. Okay, and semicolon is optional in MySQL. In some other tools, maybe at the end we will use semicolons. After writing any of the SQL syntaxes, we will use semicolon, but here in MySQL it is optional. If we don't use also, it will work. If we use also, it will work. Okay, next we need to create the database. As you're saying, you already aware, you know that the database syntax is create database name. This is the syntax. Okay, that is what I did. I used DURGASOFT 5 database here. I written as create database 5 and I executed. Okay, after executing, I can able to see the database name here. I won't execute this as I already have this database name. It will throw me an error. Just to show you, let me just change this. Maybe I will use DURGASOFT 6. I will select this and I will execute. It got executed. To check that whether, to get this DURGASOFT 6 in this list, what I need to do, I need to refresh the schema here. There we have one refresh button here. If I just click on refresh, you can see here I got DURGASOFT 6 database, right? That is how we will create the database. After creating, we need to refresh it. Then we can find the database here. Then we have something called as activating the databases. For now, we can see DURGASOFT 5 is in activation. That means remaining my databases is in normal color and this DURGASOFT 5 is in dark bold color, right? So basically we need to activate the database. Why we will activating the databases in the sense, if now my DURGASOFT 5 is in activation, if I execute any of the queries, that queries will be executed in this database only. If none of the database is in activation, and if we execute any query, SQL will get confused that in which database should it execute that particular query. And again, So for that reason, we will activate the databases. Now this database is in activation. If I want to execute any statement in DurgaSoft 6, but if I forgot activating this database, and if I just execute that statement, it will directly go to DurgaSoft 5 only. Basically, whenever we are learning purpose only, we will do that. But in real time, we will deal with only one database. So mostly at that time we don't face these issues, but we need to activate the database every time. Okay, to activate the database we will use command, and the syntax is use database name. Okay, suppose if I say use DurgaSoft 6, okay, and I'm executing this to, as I said, this third option will be the execute button. I'm clicking it. You can see DurgaSoft 6 is got activated now, right? But as we are already dealing with file, let me just. Okay, now again, I got my DurgaSoft 5. So this is how we will create the database and we will activate the database. Am I clear, Sachin? He got disconnected on me. Maybe technical issues. Okay, after that, we are seeing about creating the tables. He connected back. Sachin, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I think just now you disconnected, right? I think you saw how I activated the database. By
Yes, you
using
have by using
use command, right? So
Mhm.
I created the database and I activated the database, correct? After activating the database, we need to create the tables. So that is what we did for creating the tables. For example, I shown some like this. Did you? Okay, suppose employees is my table name. I have 4 columns: employee ID, employee name, salary, and date of joining. I have some random data here. Okay, so like this, maybe I have some random data. Okay, so like this is my table. I can say this is my table name. These are all my column names, and this is my rows of data. Now we need to create this database in SQL. That is what I'm doing to create the table. We will use create command, and the syntax is create table name. Inside the table name, we need to use parentheses, and we need to give all the column names. I given all my 4 column names, but here we need to define the data types. Okay, we need to define the data types, because if we define the data types only, it helps us to understand what type of value we need to store in that column. Basically, what is the problem in Excel file? In the sense, in Excel file, if we store the data like this, if we can see, we have salary column. In salary column, we will have only numerical data. But if I am writing anything randomly, it is allowing me to write. It is not throwing me any error, correct? In Excel file, it won't stop us entering any incorrect or irrelevant data. This is one of the limitation of Excel, correct? If I simply say hi, it is allowing me. So knowingly or unknowingly, if I write any wrong data, Excel won't stop me to do that. Okay, this is one of the drawback. And to overcome this drawback, in SQL, we will use a concept called as data types. Data types is such a concept, whenever we define the data types, it will decide what type of value we need to store in that particular column. Okay, in that particular column. And now I'm discussing about the different types of data types. That is, we have this many types of data types: numerical data type, character or string data type, date and time data type, Boolean, and binary and miscellaneous. Mostly this last two we don't use in real time. We will use only this 3 very frequently. So numerical data type, in numerical data type, we have int and float. Okay, we have 2 types again. Numerical data type, in numerical data type, basically we will store all the numbers. Okay, we have int and float. If we use int, it will store only numbers. If we use float, it will store decimal numbers. In character or string, we have 2 types, that is char and varchar. What is the difference between them? I will explain going forward. Okay, and we have date and time data type. In this, we have 2 data types, that is date data type, date and time data type. If we are only using dates, we will use date. Along with the date, if we want to enter a time also, we will use date time data type. And the format we need to use is this one: first year, then month, then date. Okay, here also year, month, date, hour, minutes, second. I hope I'm clear till now.
Yes, miss.
Great. So that is what I said till now. Okay. So now as we understood about the data types, I am defining the data types inside my table. So this is how we will create the table. Here I wrote like this, but this is not the correct syntax. We need to define data types also. So for each and every column name, we are defining the data types. As employee ID in the sense, we use only numbers. So I give an int. For employee name in the sense, that is character data. I can use either var, either char or varchar. I will explain the difference between them. But again, one more point is there. Whenever we are defining the character or string data type, we need to define the size. We need to give some size. After writing the character data type, we need to use brackets, and within the brackets, we need to give some size. That size will help us to understand. If I use 10 here, that means I am supposed to enter only 10 characters only in this employee name. Okay, basically we are allocating some memory for this employee name. How we will do that practically, I will give you one example whenever I'm discussing about char and varchar difference. Okay, for now just understand, as I use the size as 10, that means in this employee column, I can enter only up to 10 characters, not more than 10 characters. I hope I'm clear.
Yes,
So,
miss.
great. In the same way, we have salary column. Okay. So in the salary column also, either we can, basically in salary also we have numbers only. So either we can use int or float. Here I'm using float. If we use float, it will accept numbers as well as decimal values. If we have decimal values also, it will accept. If I use int, it won't accept decimal values, only numbers. So that is the reason I'm using float. Maybe in salary, sometimes we can have float also, like, 1.5 lakhs like that, correct? So that's the reason I'm using float. Next, I have date of joining and simply using date data type here, as this is of date data, correct? So this is how we will create the table. This is the complete syntax. Create table name. Inside we need to use parentheses, that is brackets. After opening the brackets, I need to give all the column names. For each and every column names, we definitely know what type of data we will enter. According to that, we will define the data types. Okay. I hope I'm clear, everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Now I'm just executing this. I'm just selecting the whole statement and I'm executing this. You can see at the bottom. See if I can see the output at the bottom. If it is executed, you can see green tick mark. If you get any errors, you can see red cross mark. Okay. Now my table got executed. I mean, I created my employees table. Now let's see this. See, we are using DURGASOFT 5 database, correct? Let me just refresh this. Once I will refresh this, we are using DURGASOFT 5 database. Inside we have tables. If I expand these tables, I can see employees here. Just now I created employees table. Like this also we can see. Inside the database, we have tables. If we expand the tables, we can see the table name which we created. Okay. For now, we created this table name. This is how we will create the table. Okay. In the Excel file, as we saw, we created the table, we defined the data types. Now we need to insert the data. Let's see how we will insert the data. Inserting the data. Okay. To insert the data, we will use insert command. Okay. By using insert command only, we will insert the data. And the syntax is like insert into table name. Maybe I will write syntax first. Insert into table name. Values, I will use the keyword called as values. Okay, after using the values keyword, I will use parentheses, and inside the parentheses, I will give all the values. Let's see example, then you can understand very easily. I'm saying insert into, I need to use into keyword, insert into table name. Table name is employees here. Right? Next, I need to use values keyword after writing values. Basically, I'm saying I'm inserting into employees table, and inside the employees table, I'm giving this values. That is the meaning here. So, but the syntax is insert into table name values. After writing values, we need to use parentheses and we need to give the data here. First, we have employee ID, right? So I need to give any employee ID data. Next, I need to give employee name, maybe Raj. Okay, then I'll give salary. I'm giving some random salary. Next, we need to enter date of joining. Like, in a sequence, we need to enter the data, like, in column wise. First, we have employee ID. That's the reason I entered one. Next, employee name. Next, salary. Next, date of joining. Okay, just a second. I will explain. This is how we will enter the first row data. If you observe here, for numerical values, I wrote inside the, sorry, for character data, I wrote inside quotes, right? That is, I wrote my employee name inside the single quotes. Date, data types data also, we will use quotes. Basically, for numerical values, we don't use quotes. Either we can use single quotes or we can use double quotes, anything is fine. But for numerical values, we don't use quotes. For character data or for date data type data, we will use quotes. Okay, that is what I did. We need to remember this. Okay, and one more important point here is whenever we are using dates, we need to follow this format only as we saw in this picture. Okay, first year, then month, then date. That is what I did. Year, month, date. Okay, and inside this, basically what it is happening, this is one row of data. Once I close it, this bracket, SQL will understand that within the brackets, whatever data is there, that data belongs to first row. Okay, and within the bracket, whenever it sees comma, it will understand this is first column data, this is second column data, this is called third column data. Like that, comma is helping us to separate the data of the columns within the brackets. Okay, when I close the bracket, SQL will understand this is the first row of data. Again, I need to give one more comma and I need to open, I need to use again parenthesis here and I will give my second row data. Okay, that is 2, maybe Sam, 45,000. Something like this. This will be my first row of the data and I need to keep comma. Okay, and this will be my second row data. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
This is how we will insert the data. Like that, if we want to use some other rows, next again I will keep comma and I should write the data inside the brackets only. Okay. Now, this is how we will use insert command. Insert into table name, that is employees. We need to use a keyword called as values and we need to start giving the values. And each row of data we need to give within the brackets. That means this is my first row data. Next, I gave comma. This is my second row data. Okay, I hope it is clear. Now let's execute this. I'm just selecting everything and I'm clicking on execute button. It got executed successfully. Okay, that is my data got inserted. Here in MySQL again, if I click the table name here, this is the best option. At the bottom, you can see what are all the columns we have and what is the data types we define. Previously, before inserting also, whenever I created the table, if I click this employees, we can able to see here, like, what all the column names I have: employee ID, employee name, salary, date of joining, and these are all the data types we defined. We can see the list from here also. Okay. Now I inserted my data. Correct? I inserted my data, but now after inserting the data, if I want to display the data or if I want to see the data, whatever I inserted, okay? Because I want to see this output, right? I just inserted, but now I want to see this output. That is, I want to display the data. To display the data, we will use select command. Basically, we have many commands. Okay. Create is one of the command, which we will use to create the tables. Insert is one of the command, which we will use to insert the data. Select is one of the command, which we will use to display the data. Like that, going forward, we will have a concept called as SQL sub-languages. We have 5 different types of sub-languages. In each sub-language, you will have some commands. We will cover all those commands going forward. But for now, we are understanding, we are just learning the commands, which is helpful for us to create the table and display the table. Okay. So to display the table, I will use select command. And the syntax for select command is select star from table name. I can call this is the syntax, okay? The star indicates, I can also call it as asterisk. Technically, we will call this as asterisk, but or else we can call it as star also. If we use star, it means it will display complete data. Okay. If I want to display, see here, I entered 2 rows of data. If I want to see the complete data from my table names, I will use star. I will use this syntax. Select star from table name. Now let's see. I need to write select star from table name. That is employees is my table. Right? This is how we will use. I will select this. I will execute this. Then I got my output. It is displaying my data, right? Whatever we did so far, that is, this is our table. Like however we saw in the Excel file, like that, same we got the output, right? This is our columns. We have 4 columns and we inserted 2 rows of data in it. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is about the select command. And as I said, if we use asterisk, that is star, it will display the complete data. But if we want to display any particular data, we use that particular column names. Okay, that means suppose instead if I want to display the complete data, I will use star. But if I want to see any particular data, that means from this table, if I want to see only employee name, comma salary, like that, if I want to see any particular name, we will use that column names. If I want to see only these 2 columns, I will use that column names, employee name, comma salary from table name, right? Like this. Let me execute this. See, now I got only that particular data, like that. Whenever we use asterisk, it will display complete data. Whenever we want to see any particular data, we will use that column name. Okay, like this. Instead of asterisk, we will use column names. I hope I'm clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. So this is about how we will create the database, how we will activate the database, and how we will create the tables inside the database. Whenever we are creating the tables, we need to know about data types concept also. So I explain what is data types, what are all the different data types we have, and we saw how we created the database, right? And after creating the database, we saw how to insert the data inside the database. Right, we saw the data, we inserted some data by using insert command. After that, by using select command, we displayed that data, right? So this is how we will create the tables and we will display the data. Okay, so I hope this is clear for you. And now let's try to see the difference between char and varchar. Is that okay? If you have any doubts, you can ask me now.
Ma'am, can we display only row wise? I mean, Raju salary, entire salary, employee like this.
Yes, yes. We need to use some, going forward, we will see that concept. Okay, we will
Okay.
use some clauses and we will display only one particular data. But again, if I am displaying this data in the sense, obviously how my output will be, it will look like this.
Yes.
It will look like this, correct?
Correct. Yes.
It will, I need to see all the column names, but I will get only one data. So for that, we will use some clauses. We will say going forward. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Done. Next, let me explain about the difference between char and varchar. Okay. For that, maybe suppose, let me take the same example for employee name. If I define char of 10, okay, whatever we did just now, if I said for the same employee name, I defined char of 10. Now I'm just explaining you about the difference between char and varchar. Okay, so for employee name, if I define char, what it happens in the backend in the sense, as I used size as 10, just imagine it will divide, it will take one box and it will divide the data into 10 parts. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just imagine it will divide the data into 10 parts. Okay. If I am using char of, sorry, if I'm using char of 10, okay, that means I'm using the char data type and I define the size of 10 for employee column. That in the backend, what it will do, suppose imagine like it take one box and as I define the 10 as size, it divided that box into 10 different parts. Okay. Here, whatever employee names we will enter, that employee names, it will store in one box. Suppose I entered Ram here previously. Just a second. Suppose I entered Ram here. So R will come in this. Okay. R will come in this. A will be in this box. And M will be in this box. I hope you understood. Basically what I did, as I define the size as 10, it will divide it into 10 different boxes and each and every box it will define, it will take one character. If I am entering a Ram or Raj, whatever it is, you know, one letter, it will take in one box. That means in the 10 bytes of memory, it will take one character in 1 byte of the memory. Okay, basically at the back end, what it will do, however size, whatever size we use, that much size of memory, that much bytes of memory, it will allocate. SQL will allocate here in char, it will allocate 10 bytes of memory. Okay, it will use 10 bytes of memory space. It will allocate that 10 bytes of memory space for employee name. Okay, if I use Ram or Ramu, something like this, whatever, data we are entering, that one single characters, it will take one boxes. Here, if I enter Ramu, we got four boxes or 4 bytes of memory is used by this name, correct? Next, I am left over with 6 boxes. This 6 boxes, what it will do, the leftover 6 boxes, it will simply, left it will simply use this 6 boxes leftover spaces with some blank spaces. It will use this remaining size also. If I'm using char, and I'm defining size as 10, it will take first 10 bytes of memory, whatever data I'm entering. If it is less than that 10 size, that is, I entered only 4 characters of data here, whatever, so it will allocate that 4 bytes for my name. Okay. And what for my name, what I'm entering, it will take that 4 bytes and the remaining 6 bytes also it will use, SQL will use, it will just, use some blank spaces. It will just, enter some blank spaces here. With some blank spaces, it will use the remaining memory, remaining bytes also. Okay, am I clear? By this, I can say this is waste of memory, right? Because I used only 4 bytes here. but remaining 6 bytes is also using by SQL. It is simply wasting my 6 bytes of memory. It is just using a blank spaces here, but it is using whatever data size, whatever size I defined, all that size is using by the SQL, right? This is how it will, this is how it works whenever we use char. Am I clear this point?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So in the same way, if we use, if I use employee name and instead of char, if I use varchar and if I use the same size as 10, again, it will follow the same process. Okay, it will take one box. It will divide the data into 10 boxes. Okay. Randomly, I'm just dividing. Okay. Try to understand the concept. Maybe 10. Okay, 10 boxes. Now, what's happening? In this also, I'm entering some, you know, data. Something like maybe the same word Ramu. If I'm entering, it will enter. Each letter will take one byte of memory. That is in one box it is entering. This box is basically the bytes of the memories. Okay. It will allocate 10 as my memory. In the 10 bytes of memory, I just entered the name as Ramu. I used only 5 bytes of memory. Again, here also my 6 bytes of memory is left over. Correct. Whenever we use varchar, when if any bytes of memory is left over, all that space, all that bytes of memory will not be used by SQL. SQL won't use the leftover bytes of memory here. It will just take it back. SQL itself, whatever memory is remained when after entering the data, whenever we use varchar after entering, see here, where is my cursor? Okay. After here, I'm using varchar for employee table. After entering any data, if any leftover bytes are there, that memory is not used for this column. SQL will take back that memory. It will allocate that memory back to itself. This means by using varchar, memory wastage is not happening, right? Memory won't be wasted. How much whatever data we entered, that much memory only, that much bytes of memory only SQL will take. Remaining bytes of memory, it won't waste that memory for employee name column. It will take that memory back to itself. Okay, am I clear this point? The basic difference of char and varchar.
Yes, ma'am.
In char, basically, irrespective of the size, I mean, after defining any size, irrespective of the data we enter, the remaining bytes of memory it is wasting here. SQL is using all the bytes of memory. Suppose I given char and I given 40 as my size, but I entered only 10 characters. All the 30 bytes of memory will be wasted here because char will use all the 40 bytes of memory, whatever I defined. By this way, the memory wastage will happen. That is the reason in real time we don't use char much. We will use varchar. In varchar, if I use same 40, if I define 40 bytes of memory, if I used only 10 bytes, it will, if I enter only 10 characters, it will use that 10 bytes and remaining 30 bytes of memory. It won't waste on employee name column. That SQL will take that memory back. So memory wastage is not happen whenever we use varchar. This is the first and most important difference. And I can say, if you are a fresher, this is the most important interview question also. Difference between char and varchar, you need to explain like this. In char, the first point is that memory wastage will be done irrespective of after defining one size, irrespective of the data we enter, it will use the complete size. But in varchar, after defining some size, according to the data we enter, if we left over with any of the characters or any of that bytes, their memory wastage won't happen. That memory will not be allocated to that particular column. The leftover memory will not be allocated to that column. It will be allocated back to the SQL itself. Okay, that is the difference between char and varchar, main difference. Okay. But as I said, in real time, mostly we will use varchar because of this memory wastage thing. But in which scenarios we will use in which scenarios we will use char, in the sense, if we know what type of data we are entering. Suppose if I am using a column called as gender. Okay, if I am using a column called as gender, I know in gender column what data I will enter, either male or female, right? That means I know how much characters I want to enter that data. Male in the sense 4 characters, female in the sense maybe 5 or 6 characters, correct? At that time, if we know what kind of data we are entering for that columns, we can use char. Okay, here I can say gender of 6 and I can enter any male and female. Maybe here wastage of memory is not that much is happening, right? If we know exactly what type of data we are entering inside that column, we will use char, or else we will use varchar. Mostly we will use varchar only because of this memory wastage issue. Okay, and one more difference is that if we talk, let me write it. The first difference is that one, but another difference is in char we can store up to 255 characters only. Okay, in varchar we can store up to 65,432, I guess. This 432, I'm not sure, but I'm sorry, I forgot for now. But it's almost 65,000 bytes. 65,000 bytes of memory, bytes of characters we will use in the varchar. Okay. Again, irrespective of the memory wastage, if we are about to use the large data more than 255 characters also, we cannot use char. We will use varchar. Again, this is the second difference, but this is only the main difference. Memory wastage is really important. So due to this memory wastage, in real time, 90% we will use varchar only. 99% maybe we will use varchar only. Sometimes only we will use char. Am I clear? This is the difference between char and varchar. Am I clear, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Sachin?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this is about the difference between char and varchar. According to that, we will use, basically, we will use varchar only. Okay, this is about the data types and the difference between char and varchar. And this is how we will create the table, insert the table, and display the table. Okay, and with this, our demo classes are done. Whoever get registered for them, you will get a new link. Okay, please use that link to log in tomorrow. Okay. Okay, Sachin. Our admin people will send you a mail. In that mail, you can see the details, how to get registered with us. The course duration is of 40 days and the course fees is of 2,000. Rama, I guess you already registered with us, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So by today, our demo classes are done. From tomorrow, let's get into the actual classes. Sachin, if you are interested, please get registered. Then you will get a new Zoom link and please follow that link to attend tomorrow's class. Okay.
Mm.
All right then. Let's meet in tomorrow's class.
Thank you.
You can, if you have any doubts, you can ask me, or else I will close the session.
No, ma'am. No doubt.
Okay. All right. All right then. Thank you. Bye bye.